Sugar Sugar Rune is an exploration of girls' relationships to power and society. The story follows two young witches competing to become queen of the magical world. It's a touching story about friendship and rivalry with looming political commentary. I initially found this show as a child, and as part of my Halloween book club, I've decided to revisit it. Let's review both adaptations and find the magic in this media. Sugar Sugar Rune exists both as a manga and an anime. The manga ran in Nakayoshi from 2003 and concluded in 2007, while the anime aired from 2006 to 2007. While this explains some of the differences, the two are also quite separate thematically. We'll start with the manga. Our story starts off in the magical realm known as Le Royaume. The series has a lot of French touches, with all its locations being French words. Le Royaume meaning the kingdom. It's a Candyland fantasy with streams of caramel and chocolate volcanoes. Even the characters are named after flavors and dessert. For my own sake, I'll be using English names. This gives the world a playful flair that's carried into the designs and fashions. All of the characters' outfits feel like a fun mix between elegance and playfulness. Moyoko Ano, the mangaka, has worked as a fashion writer, and you can definitely see that experience. Overall, it feels very gothic. The characters' large eyes and soft lips make them doll-like, and they're always dressed in Halloween-esque costumes, which lends the series a unique edge. Compared to other magical girl shows, the series' fashion is quite distinct. So what actually happens in the first chapter? The two witches stand atop a volcano, preparing to enter the human world. Vanilla's quite timid, but Chocolat dives right in. This gives a decent impression of their personalities. We've got the brash one and the shy one. The next page features Akira, showing his dog Ursa Minor. He mentions that even though you can't see it, Ursa Major is right next to it. Even in the stars, parents are next to their children. This will be important. It's one of the most revealing lines of the manga. The girls fall through the moon and are caught by their guardian, Rockin' Robin. He's a flashy rock star who flirts incessantly. We get a brief explanation of the rules before the girls vow to be friends throughout the queen competition. They both struggle at first, but Chocolat gets her first heart from Akira, a yellow-colored pea heart. Hearts have different colors based on the emotion, and once it's taken, the feeling is lost. This heart represents surprise, and is one of the least important ones. The final scene of note is when Akira picks up the heart and runs off with it. He bumps into a mysterious boy named Pierre. Pierre picks up the heart and returns it to Chocolat. Despite never having met, he looks so familiar, a lot like the portrait of an old magical king. And that's everything we need to know for now. The anime makes a few changes for streamlining and marketability. One, the girls are moved to the same class, which just makes sense, but also, the wands they use come fully customized. It's pretty much a commercial for the toys. Similarly, the girls' outfits are made pink and purple to brighten them up a little. These are all good changes, but also the first of many divisive choices. But before that, based on its premise alone, it's pretty clear that this is a story about female power. Two young girls must claim the throne, not through birth or merit, but rather the approval of boys around them. It's not subtle. This is part of the show's greater focus on romance. Witches take hearts from humans by stirring up their emotions, the most powerful being the red heart of love. Love is their means to power, but more specifically, male approval. This poses a really big challenge to Chocolat. See, the magical world is a tough society where confident, direct people thrived. Chocolat was popular there, but in the human world, it's girls like Vanilla who are preferred. Timid, kind, gentle. This immediately flips their social standing and gives them a shared experience of otherness. Within the anime, Chocolat makes a lot of female friends. The boys just find her weird and scary though. Vanilla goes through the opposite. The boys love her immediately. Her shy, clumsy antics earn her a lot of hearts, but later on we find out that most girls don't like her. She's seen as desperate for always playing into the boys' desires. In the manga, we also learn that the girls in the kingdom see her as unqualified. No matter what they do, someone is always judging them. Being a girl in this society means you just can't win. The manga also goes a bit deeper. After failing to capture Pierre's heart, Chocolat complains that Vanilla has it easy. But this neglects the hard work Vanilla puts in. Vanilla's femininity is a carefully coordinated practice. From the long routine behind her messy bob, to the number of gemstones her wand carries, there's nothing effortless about it. The anime kind of ignores this, which gives Vanilla less agency. Across both mediums, the message is clear. In this world, being loved is power. And if they hope to win, then it's boys' love that they need. Fellow girls can't help them on the way to the top. This is where the series' feminist critique starts to peek through. I won't make any statements on Moyoko Anno's personal beliefs, but it's no coincidence that both girls must gain power in a system through the approval of boys around them. The girls' love can't help them. They can't even collect their hearts. It's up to the girls to use boys as stepping stones on their way to the throne. But they're not the only ones. Minor spoilers, but Pierre is doing the exact same thing. The anime spoils it in the opening, and the manga gets to it 8 chapters in. Pierre's true identity is the Prince of Ogres. Who are the ogres? Let me explain. The magical kingdom was formed when 7 wizards fled from Earth. This group comprised Glace, the Ice King, and his 6 wives. Unable to please each of them, the wives sealed him away in jealousy. In this series, jealousy is the dark side of love. Pierre enjoys the love of all the girls around him, and through manipulation, he twists it into jealousy. Through his interest in Chocolat, he drives his own fan club to jealousy and hatred. This turns their hearts black, the color of noir. He uses women to fuel his own power. It's a distinct parallel between him and the girls. Jealousy pits women against each other, just like it did in the past. Within the story, all power is gained through love, and this goes even further in the world building. Human hearts have monetary value. Ecure, the magical world's currency. Ecure is used as currency and an energy source. And as the manga points out, the magical world is running out. This is why the girls are collecting hearts, because love is power in the most literal sense. Who is the queen? The one who is most loved. And who is the enemy? The one who twists love into something sinister. The ogre twist is one of the best narrative choices the series makes. In the anime, this is the final arc, but in the manga, it's just the middle. You might have guessed it from the opening, but this is the arc where Vanilla, a sweet, timid girl, transforms into the selfish, calculating ogre. This change is brought on by jealousy. The methods are different by medium, but I prefer the mangas. It happens a lot earlier and just makes sense in that context. So, Pierre and Chocolat's budding romance is universally unsupported. Pierre's friends are jealous, and Chocolat's friends think she's being stupid. This leaves Chocolat isolated and ripe for Pierre's attack. Following this attempt on her life, she flees to the magical world for advice, an action forbidden for queen candidates. Despite this, Queen Candy forgives her and even sends her back with a gift. Now would probably be a good time to cover the girls' mothers. Vanilla's mother is Queen Candy. She grew up in the palace and now carries her mother's legacy. There's a lot of pressure for her to perform, partially in response to her unpopularity. Due to her mother's responsibilities, Vanilla grew up pretty lonely. She wanted her mother's love all to herself, which is part of why she works so hard. She's kind and helpful because she wants attention and friendship. She wants what Chocolat has. Chocolat grew up without a mother. The late Cinnamon was also a queen candidate, but died shortly after Chocolat's birth. Despite this tragedy, Chocolat's always been upbeat. She's brave, strong, and loved. And if love is power, then it's clear who's won. This dynamic is the root of Vanilla's jealousy. When Chocolat earns her mother's favor, it feels like she's taking the last thing Vanilla has. Queen Candy sends Chocolat home with a magical hairpin. This maximizes her charm and gives her an easy lead on Vanilla. Vanilla chastises Chocolat for relying on the Queen's gift. After all, it's not fair. Vanilla's been working hard with her own magic. She also can't understand why the Queen would do this. The hairpin serves as a really important lesson. Queen Candy gave it to show Chocolat her own potential, that one day she might be able to do this on her own. But unfortunately, this only drives the girls apart. And now that Vanilla's got nothing, Pierre makes his move. Once Chocolat realizes the Queen's intent, she decides to use the hairpin for something else, transforming it into a key to read her mother's diary. This diary reveals that Cinnamon and Candy had an agreement, that after 2 years of competing, Cinnamon left to see the Ice King and let Candy rule the kingdom. This is a pretty big revelation, equal in magnitude to what Vanilla just found out. When Vanilla comes home from meeting Pierre, Chocolat's eager to share her own news, and this argument is the final straw. See, Vanilla just learned from Pierre that she might be an ogre. This would explain why everyone hates her. In a greater political context, the rumors about her heritage would also cast doubt on Queen Candy's legitimacy. So when Chocolat tries to explain their mother's deal, Vanilla feels like she's losing the last shred of truth she has in her life. She attacks Chocolat and throws her out of the house. With nowhere left to go, Chocolat's taken in by Akira. Something I love about the manga is how early Vanilla turns evil. Without her best friend, Chocolat's forced to grow in new ways. The anime saves Vanilla's heel turn for the finale, which leaves them with nothing to do for most of the story. See, despite her ambition, Vanilla's heel turn actually makes her a worse witch. The ogre way is quite cruel and calculated, but she often fails in the face of true love. Here's an example. The night before Valentine's Day, Chocolat decides to make a big piece of chocolate for a special boy. In contrast, Vanilla gives tiny chocolates to multiple boys, but it doesn't land. Her love doesn't feel special. She gives the same cookie-cutter speech to all of them. Chocolat's genuine efforts beat out Vanilla's efficiency, and for the first time, she gets more hearts than her. During the Spring Witch exam, the two are tasked with getting mandragores from the peak of a mountain. Their approaches highlight how much they've changed. Vanilla gets to work immediately, using efficient magical tools to track its location. She flies over the mountain and straight toward her goal. It's effective, but it's not befitting of a queen. Chocolat walks up the mountain, speaking to the local gnomes. Her approach highlights her care for people and the land around her. Even when they do find the mandragores, Vanilla attacks it, commanding it to leave the ground. But Chocolat uses dance candy. She cares about the living creatures around her, and it's that care that bets her win. Chocolat is learning how to love. I really hate that the anime ignores this because it makes Chocolat look like a pretty incompetent witch. There's a lot of episodes where she gets boys riled up just to ignore the hearts because she's waiting for them to grow bigger. It makes her look naive and it feels like she's being punished by the narrative. Overall, both girls are just worse witches in the anime. It's why the finale feels so rushed. Chocolat's wins are gradually highlighted by the manga and serve to push Vanilla deeper into jealousy. This leads into her greatest scheme yet. This arc is slightly different in the manga and anime, but they're pretty similar, so trust me, you'll follow along. Vanilla finds Chocolat collecting Nouchi's heart. She snaps at her for going after boys outside her class. In the manga, they're in different classes, so she wants Chocolat to keep off her territory. Rightfully upset, Chocolat refuses. The two agree to a challenge over who can capture one boy's heart, Ian. Whoever loses can only take hearts from their own class. This boy hates girls, but most especially tomboys. Vanilla knew this, and she carefully alters her personality to suit him. When she finds out Ian likes the ocean, she creates a beach. But even then, she loses. Chocolat wins by staying true to herself. When he sees her surfing, he rushes to join her. During her past schemes, Vanilla was often drawn looking distant and angry, but by this point, she just looks sad. So, in a bid to catch his attention, she decides to surf too. And to no one's surprise, she ends up drowning. In the effort of saving her, Chocolat finds herself exhausted and slowly starts to slip below the surface. Thankfully, Pierre's sitting on the beach, and to his own surprise, dives in to save her. This chapter is really the tipping point in Sugar Sugar Rune's tone. By this point, Vanilla's a complete shadow of herself. She's bitter and desperate, but she's also just miserable. She doesn't relish in her schemes, she just carries them out. She's calculating, efficient. There's no true love in her heart. The noir has overwhelmed her former self, and she's knocked into slumber for the next arc. Pierre's redemption is the climax of the anime, but in the manga it happens closer to the middle. This is another major split. If you watch the anime, the final episodes followed Chocolat and her friends trying to save Vanilla, but in the manga, these are Chocolat's solo trials. The first is learning to trust Pierre. The two have a pretty unbalanced dynamic, so I always felt that this arc was trying to make them more equal. When Pierre dives into the ocean to save Chocolat, Vanilla's knocked out by the ogres. This causes her spell to disappear, and the two are swallowed in the Forgotten Path, a space between the magical world and the human one. The path is also inhabited by the nihilist spider, a creature sent out by the kingdom to keep people out. Under the threat of death, they decide to work together. Right now, Pierre is not the ogre prince, and Chocolat's not a queen candidate. While their plan is quite reckless, the two manage to defeat it, and in the abyss that follows, they hold hands floating through each other's memories. Here we see that Pierre used to be a normal boy. He would smile and play in the mischievous forest, alongside a familiar red-headed girl. I'm not a fan of this twist, but it happens. In a moment of surprise, Chocolat lets go of his hand, and the two drift apart. In the anime, they end up back home, but in the manga, it's now Chocolat's darkest hour. She finds herself in the Cocoa Desert, where she meets the witch Amber. Rather than immediately helping, Amber tasks her with collecting minerals from the sand. This is in line with the manga's focus on economics. While we've been following the witches in the human world, the magical world is actually going through a resource crisis. They're running out of a cure. Witches are leaving for the human world to capture human hearts through celebrity. It's quite notable that all the human witches we find are famous. They're broke people who left the kingdom hoping to find a better life. Being children, the girls don't really understand what's going on, but as future queens, they need to learn about their society's issues. That's why Amber has her work for days, gathering even the tiniest shards to make a few hearts. It instills in Chocolat the value of even one heart. And once she's gathered enough, Amber sends her on her way. On the way, Chocolat passes Ginger Town, her home village, and here she encounters Pierre in the nearby forest. They're happy to reunite and decide to leave together. Due to the current ogre situation, the moon door is closed, so they have to rely on the sleazy Alchemy, a shady businessman with a secret path to the human world. It'll cost them though, and once he finds out Pierre's an ogre, he nearly doubles the price. What Alchemy wants is Pierre's black heart, and in a completely selfless act, Pierre agrees to give it. If Chocolat stays any longer in the magical world, she might be disqualified, and so he shoves her through the portal back to Earth. This is the moment where I feel their relationship becomes quite equal, because in response, Chocolat goes back to get him. It's not his decision anymore, but hers too. This panel of them falling through the sky feels like the moment where their relationship becomes equal. There's still massive problems, trust me, but I think that's the intent of this arc. It really works to establish their mutual trust, which is important for the main relationship of the manga. A quick little enemies to lovers tale. The final war in the manga pays off all that political setup. I really struggled to write this final section. The war is such a long and convoluted mess that it's hard to tie it together. The biggest problem, though, is that it strays away from all the themes you've been building towards. With the main antagonist, Pierre, redeemed, it's hard to come up with a threat that's just as personal, yet dangerous to the girls. So instead, we got Glace. Both the anime and manga go with completely different endings, but they do involve Glace somehow. Let's start with the anime. Chocolat returns with a cure for Vanilla from the witch Amber. Vanilla wakes up, they do an exam, and the rushed war arc concludes with Vanilla's coronation. Vanilla's corruption makes up the finale of the anime, which really robs her of agency. We don't get to explore her feelings, and thus Chocolat doesn't get a chance to grow alone. Instead, they're both tethered to a growing cast of varying quality that they drag with them to the finish line. I know it ended before the manga, but there's no way this was the best option. In the manga, Vanilla gets cured by Chocolat herself. She rids her of the black heart and unlocks a new power, Filter. This is the ability to turn a black heart completely white, a power her mother had too. The girls reunite and renew their friendship. This is where the manga's true finale begins, an all-out war between the ogres and the witch's world. Honestly, this is best experienced for yourself, cause it's a lot. The anime and manga go with different queens, and I hate both executions. Personally, I prefer Chocolat's victory from the anime, but I do prefer the manga's ending. It's hard to summarize my thoughts on this series. On one hand, it's a really ambitious story about power and love. The world building feels rich and impactful, but at the same time, it really loses itself in the finale. It's a rare case where the story's midpoint is actually the best. The anime's quality is pretty bad throughout, but the manga peaks in the middle. If you enjoyed this journey with me, be sure to join the Patreon book club. Next time, we'll be reading Tokyo Mew Mew and watching the original anime. Be sure to check it out, and thank you to my current patrons: Ella Corcoran, Ayusha Rai, Celine Envoy, Suzaku, Reski Amalia, It's Blue 13, Nya EXE, Mohammed Aska Noor Hakim, Gerard Kachaturian, La Perla del Gacha, Rugia the Green and True, Emaru the Fiore Lover, Gabrielle Bambal, Evelina Poncet, and Kit Kate. This was a journey, so if you were reading along with me, thanks, and see you guys next month for Tokyo Mew Mew.